this is your introduction to National 5 skills. RMPS is a bit different from your other social subjects. We do not have any structure as such. However, they are similar to some of the questions you will find in history and modern studies. So if you are taking any other National 5s at history or mods, this might help you, and use those structures when you're answering describe or explain questions. And then we've got another one that we'll have a look at. But today we will explore how to approach National 5 questions. So there are 3 types of questions that you're going to come across in your Nat 5 paper. I will use these throughout the year, so you're very familiar with the questions that you will be presented with in the exam. Because we have this pandemic going on at the moment, I will be regularly assessing you throughout the year to make sure that you're meeting the standards of Nat 5, and will be recording this, and we'll have conversations on how this goes. Now, the first question you will come across is a discuss. The second one is an explain question, and to what extent do you agree? Discuss and explain questions can be anywhere between 3 and 6 marks. You do not always have to do a mark per question. A point per mark. As long as these points are well developed, you could get up to 4 marks on 1 point. On our to what extent do you agree question, that is your 8 marker. You will hear me talking about 8 markers in class. These have got a structure to them. I will give you this and in this lesson, and you will have that. Make sure you use this lesson throughout the year if you're stuck with any questions. Now, top tips for the exam and for assessments throughout the year. You need to make sure you read the question first. Do not automatically see a specific word and start writing about it. Make sure you fully understand what this question is asking of you. If you have a mental block and are not sure about what the question means, try to link the question to the course. For example, if you see Kama, you know it will be talking about Buddhism. That's your first start. What does Kama link to? That will give you a good introduction. And then if your question is asking you how important it is to Buddhism, or Buddhists today, or Buddhists in the 21st century, you know that you need to relate that to that part of the question. If you're not sure how to start the question, use the same words in the question. For example, explain a religious view on war. A religious view on war is, or a religious person might think war is. Now, for us, we need to specify what religion we are speaking about. Never ever use a religious person believes that the world is such a beautiful place and that God exists and their Bible says this. You need to specify that you're talking about Christians, Buddhists, Muslims, Jewish people. Make sure you're specific, even if the question is saying explain a religious view. Now, for describe questions, you're required to make relevant factual points. These are statements as such. These may be either a number of separate points. So if you've got 4 marks, I would recommend you to write 4 points at least. A number of separate points or a single point which is well developed. So these should be key points and related to the question. Do not be writing about Nibbana if you're asked about samsara. 1 mark for a clear and relevant statement, description, reason, or explanation. This stands for all three questions. Where the point is developed by offering further detail, additional explanation, for example, award a second mark. For example, if you're telling me about Kama and you tell me that kamaic seeds are planted, and if you plant good kamaic seeds, they're going to bring good things to you, but if you do bad ones, then they are going to bring bad things to you. An example of this would be if you were to be compassionate towards a person, then people would be compassionate towards you. That could award you 2 marks. A very well developed point may award up to 4 marks. A maximum of 1 mark should be awarded for an unexplained list. Now, that last point is very relevant when we are talking about the origins of the universe. For example, if you were to just list all the events that happened in the Big Bang Theory, you would only earn 1 mark. If you were to list day 1, the world light was created, day 2, this was created, day 3, this was created, in the Genesis story, only a maximum of 1 mark will be awarded. So please make sure you have well developed points. An example of describe questions would be describe a religious response to origins of the universe. Make sure you specify your religion. Describe 2 purposes of punishments. Remember, only do 2 because they're the only ones you're going to be awarded for, and make sure you've either got 2 developed points or 2 points per punishment. Give reasons why a non-religious person disagrees with capital punishment. For this question, because it's only 3 marks, make sure you give 3 different reasons why. A marker will be looking for that. How do you write describe questions? Well, firstly, there are lots of different ways to answer these types of questions. However, you will not be given the full marks if you just list things. You have to show you understand the facts and can give details about them. So you need to make sure the marker knows what you're talking about. Make sure they know that you understand what you're speaking about as well, and you're not regurgitating information. You could write a clear statement. This could be a reason for something or explanation of a term. This would give you 1 mark. You would need to develop the point further, giving more detail or explanation or detail for an additional mark. If the question was worth 4 marks, you would need to give 2 statements or reasons with additional detail for the full marks or 4 separate points. For explain questions, explain questions require you to make at least 2 relevant points that clarify the issue or question involved. These should be key points and will include reference to relevant ideas, although these need not to be fully explained. Now, this information is taken from SQA documents, so this is coming from SQA people who mark your papers. They're telling you what you want to know. They're telling you what they need. So they are asking you to make points and clarify the issue involved in the question. When answering these points, you could either make several separate points or a single well-developed one. These are several ways you can gain the full marks. So explain examples would be explain why the Sangha is important to Buddhists today. Remember the today part. Don't just tell me all about the Sangha. Explain what a non-religious person believes about evolution. Now watch out for this one. We want to know what happened at the start of evolution. Don't just jump straight into the part where you're talking about that we came from primates. Please make sure you're starting from the start of evolution when you're explaining a non-religious person's view on this. The same as you would go back to the start when you talk about Genesis and a religious viewpoint. Explain the reasons why poverty is a moral issue. You would use religious and non religious viewpoints here as well as the moral issues. Because the reason why it is a moral issue is because so many people have different opinions on it, as well as it causing moral dilemmas. So, how do you write explain questions? So, the same as the describe questions, there's lots of different ways for you to answer this, but you will not be given the full marks if you just list that piece of information. You have to show you understand it. And the same applies. Write a clear statement. This could be a reason for something or an explanation of the term. But with an explain question, we are looking for more detail. We are looking for more explanation. This is going to be showing your analysis skills. And this is something that you will know if you take history or mods, and this will be developed. Now, the difference between describe and explain questions are obviously, it says describe, but it does say explain. But describe is asking you for factual information, detail, and descriptions. Explain is asking for you to explain the idea. Why is something the case? Or why is it important? Not just stating facts. For example, if I were to ask you to describe a chair, that chair you would tell me that had a back, had a seat, it had 4 legs, it was wooden, it was plastic, it had metal on it. But if you were to explain a chair to me, you would explain that's where you sat, that's where you would pull in, that's where you would sit down, and that's where you would do your work. To what extent questions are your 8 markers? So these type of questions require you to give a relevant point of view, justification, assessment of a given statement. You may fully agree with this statement or fully disagree. I would require you to tell me in the question that you slightly or strongly or fully disagree or agree every time that you make a valid point. All are equally acceptable. If the question is asking you how far do you agree, you do not always have to tell me that you agree. You can tell me that you fully disagree. If it is going against what you believe, then that is absolutely amazing. But what you can do is provide other religious or non religious viewpoints and then compare them against your own viewpoint. You may answer from your own perspective or belief, describe a perspective of belief held by others, or combine them together. All are fully acceptable as a route to get your full marks. For the 8 marker, this is key structure. This is something that will help you get full marks. You will notice there's 9 marks there that you would be awarded. Knowledge and understanding, analysis and evaluation. This is split up into 3 paragraphs as such, and at the end, make sure you do a conclusion. What I want you to do right now is pause the video and write down 8 mark structure, how fully structure, or to what extent structure, and write down KAE. Tell me it's knowledge and understanding, analysis and evaluation at the start. Then KUAE, KUAE, and make sure it's somewhere safe, whether it's in a Google document or whether it is elsewhere. But this is very important, and I will share this when we're back in school as well. KU sentence starters are here for you as well. This document will always be on Google Classroom, as well as the video on YouTube if you need to watch it again. KU sentence starters. So this is a way to show you how to start off your sentences. It is a way to show your knowledge. It's a way to prove what you know. One argument is that Buddhists believe this. One way Buddhists practice meditation is through Vipassana, Another argument is that Muslims fully agree with retribution. A key principle is Kantian ethics believe that. X is an example. These are all examples that you can use. I will give you a document with all this information. Analysis sentence starters are here as well for you, and evaluation. Now, to what extent examples? So, meditation is the most important practice for Buddhists. Would all Buddhists agree? Give reason for your answer. You can disagree and show what you think is the most important practice, but make sure you are answering that question. Every time you come to your evaluation, you need to answer, would all Buddhists agree with this statement? By using your knowledge and analysis that you have presented in that paragraph. God created the universe. Give reason for your answer. If you disagree or agree, tell me why. Don't just tell me that you agree. That will not award you any marks. A person who is true to their religion should always be a pacifist. Do you agree? And give reason for your answer. Use different religious and non-religious viewpoints as well as yours. Always back up with your knowledge and analysis that you have developed. This is a prime example of discussion questions. This is a question that was done by one of my Nat 5s last year and was able to get full marks. The way they broke it up was taking a new line every time that they made a mark. This allowed them to see where their marks would be awarded and would help them learn. The same happens for explain and to what extent examples. Now, for these questions, you can always pause the video and have a look at these more in depth, and you will see that each is well developed and they have fully earned their marks. They've included quotes, they have had good knowledge of what they're talking about, and these are points that have been only answered 2 months ago. So this will show you where your knowledge will be at by this time next year. Now, this is just a small quiz, and I would expect you to be stopping the video and writing your answers down on a Google Docs and submitting it via the assignment on Google Classroom. I will mark it and give it back to you. And it's just a wee fun one to have a look at what the different types of questions are. Now you can you can rewind this video and have a look at the information again, then come back to this quiz. You're more than welcome to do so, or have a look at the PowerPoint that I've added as well, and you will be able to use that to see the information. So, describe a method of capital punishment. God cannot be real. There is no evidence. To what extent do you agree? Give reason for your answer. 3. Can you describe the 2 types of meditation? 4. Give an explanation of how Christians view terrorism. 5. Explain why Muslims agree with retribution. 6. Capital punishment has no place in the 21st century. Discuss your answers. Explain the importance of samsara to Buddhists today. Describe the nature of existence in Buddhism. What are the main causes of crime? And the 3 jewels are the only important practice in Buddhism. How far do you agree, and give reason for your answer? Write down your answers, whether it's describe question, explain, or to what extent, and send them through to me. I'll get them marked and put them back to you. But I hope you're doing well. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to give me an email or give me a comment on the assignment. I'm happy to help. I hope you are all doing well, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.